Hey, welcome to Plant Summary Therapy, and today we're going to be talking about the White Sansevieria, the white snake plant. Other name is the Bantel's Sansation. This is a new cultivar, snake plant with white vertical variegations, and the first time I saw it, I really liked it. I saw it the first time on YouTube. And since it's a new cultivar, it's kind of expensive. I think the one that they showed on YouTube was a couple $100 just for I think it was a 12-inch pot. This plant I got from Home Depot in the clearance section. This was $15 because it was like $35 on an ancient pot. The girl at Home Depot actually gave me the plant for free. She looked at it and told me that she didn't think it was going to live. But I knew it was suffering from overwatering and root rot, so I took it, I divided it, I repotted all of the pieces in dry potting soil, and they were all doing well. And then we come to this plant in this terracotta pot. I didn't know why it wasn't doing so well. It was doing well for a while, and then it just pooped out like this. And then I planted another one in a concrete pot and another one in a plastic pot just to see how well it'll do. I frequently do these informal experiments just to see how well things would do, and I would think that the terracotta pot would do well, and it probably would have, but I made a fatal error. Like I said, this plant was thriving, and so I had to figure out what happened, and it's obviously root rotted, but I don't know how this happened, so I needed to investigate. It didn't look like there's any disease on it, but I found out that I was the cause. And here it is. I'm always trying to find different ways to recycle things, and I thought that if I put this cover for my Starbucks cup on the bottom as a protector from the dirt from coming out, I thought this would be another way to use these covers. That this would, well, it didn't work. It held on to too much water. The terracotta pot couldn't expel that much water, and then it began to have root rot. And look at this. This is a little centipede. I don't know if you can see it. This is just a little centipede, but then it still can, it still has, well, actually the Department of Agriculture from Hawaii says that Hawaii doesn't have any venomous creatures. However, that people can die, well, people can have reactions to bites from certain animals that range from localized pain to death. And I thought that's hilarious because if you can die from a bite from an animal, that's pretty venomous. But this is a small one, so I'm not too concerned. But if you haven't seen a centipede, this is a centipede. Just avoid any centipede. But if you're interested to see what a centipede looks like, well, this is it. This is a centipede. I think it originated in Asia, and this one has a pretty bad bite, and it has fangs in the front, and it secretes, which looks like venom. When you're working in the yard, just be careful. Wear gloves if you have to. Just keep aware. The white snake plant, just like the snake plant with the yellow margins, gets its coloration from a virus that infects the rhizomes. So this particular one, I'm happy that the baby came out to be like the plant that I desired. The first baby it had was a normal snake plant, and I don't want any more normal snake plants, so I cut that down as soon as I can, and I'm happy that this one came out to look like the plant that I desired. This white snake plant, it grows slower than the other snake plants, but the care seems to be about the same. Oh, another difference between the white snake plant and the regular snake plant and the Sansaveiria with the margin on it is that the white snake plants don't seem to be able to handle direct sun as well as the other cultivars or the original cultivars. So to sum up, this is a beautiful exotic snake plant that is easy to care for, just like any other snake plant, except keep it out of direct sun. The soil recipe that I use is basically just like any other soil recipe I'd use for any other Sansaveiria. It's 2 parts of potting mix, 2 parts of perlite, that's for drainage, aeration, and 1 part of sand, that's for, I don't know, Sansaveiria just like sand. I put also 1 part of volcanic cinder, this is for aeration and drainage, and I put about a half a part to a part of orchid bark. This is to help absorb and keep the some of the nutrients inside of the soil so it doesn't all drain out with the drainage water. You don't have to be this particular with your soil recipe. I'm sure that this plant will do well in just regular cactus mix or with regular potting mix with sand and perlite. Basically, you want a fast draining soil. You don't want to sit this plant in water. It doesn't like to get its feet wet. And like I said, keep it out of direct sun. Now this is a thrift store find. I had one of my grandsons drill a lot of holes in the bottom for drainage. I use a layer of gravel for drainage. I know that's controversial, but I really do believe that a layer of gravel does help with the drainage. And then I put my potting mix in. I have like 5, 6, maybe 7 pots of white Sansevierias, and they're all basically doing pretty well. I don't want to have, I'm happy to have all of these white Sansevierias. No one asked me for any of these snake plants, and I don't want to look like I have a garden store in the front of my house, so I'm going to find a different way to display this plant. I have this thrift store find. It's some kind of platter. I got it for like, I think $2 from Goodwill or Salvation Army. I had one of my grandsons drill holes in it. I got him I got both my grandsons some power tools and toolboxes, so I have them use them whenever I can, and they feel happy to use power tools. And then I'm going to make a little display. This display is going to go in a shaded semi direct sun area of my patio. I'm sure a few minutes of direct sun is not going to kill it. After all, it is a plant, and there's no way I'm going to shield it completely from direct light, but if anything, you'll probably get maybe less than 15 minutes of direct light. This is going to be one of the more nicer displays that I'm going to put on my patio, just as maybe a conversation piece, or just something that I can look at and feel appreciative, or at least appreciate. The top layer of soil that I'm going to put on top of this display is just a mixture of half and half sand and potting soil. And this is to, perlite is very porous and soft, and it'll float to the top. So after a bunch of watering, it's going to loosen up enough perlite that there's going to be a layer of moist perlite on the top of my plant, and I don't want that because that's going to attract gnats and slugs, and this is going to be outside, and slugs are just nasty little creatures. Then finally, I'm going to put a topper on it, and I love this gravel. This is actually aquarium gravel. It's this earth tones, and it just looks nice. It has a nice finishing touch. I have this in a lot of my plants, and I keep this same topping just to keep the plants looking a little bit more uniform. So if it's going to be in an area where people are going to see it, or are going to be in plants that I want to show off, at least it's going to match, and it does look pleasing to the eye. The only thing about any toppers that you put on to anything is that it's going to affect the evaporation rate. So you might want to adjust your watering and just keep an eye to see if it's especially like Sansaveiria, they don't like to be moist too long. Sansaveiria, or snake plants, they all like to dry out between waterings. In fact, if you have to think whether or not to water them, then give it a couple of days because it's best to not water them. This is the finished product. These plants, well, this is about a month after I potted these plants, and these plants are doing really well. The new shoots coming out. It doesn't look like there's any signs of rotting or disease. I think with these plants, the worst thing you can do is overwater them, and root rot will be the most biggest problem. And right now, I found another little ornament or figurine, this little duck or goose figurine that I found for about 99 cents at Goodwill. It works perfect, and this is a nice little vignette for the patio area, and it just makes me so happy to see these plants happy and thriving, and I don't really have to do anything. These snake plants basically care for themselves. And look at this snake plant in a regular plastic pot. I would think that this plant would not be doing that well because it's in a plastic pot, but since it's in soil that is draining and fast draining, and I let it dry between waterings, it's doing fine. One last important thing before I end this video is that the White Sansevieria, just like the Sansaveiria or snake plant with the yellow margins, they get their color variations from a virus that infects their rhizomes. So if you're going to propagate them, you have to divide the rhizomes. If you take the leaf cuttings and you're able to propagate them from leaf cuttings, the original plant will come out. You won't have the same coloration. So anyway, this is the White Sansevieria. It's an easy plant. It's a beautiful, exotic, new cultivar. I think novice or beginner house plant owners will love this plant. So just give it a try. It's expensive though. Thank you for watching. Aloha.